he must have a guardian angel. Donald Trump must have a guardian angel, because on a day when Letitia James is trying to take him for everything he's got, considering that they leveled a $500 million fine on him, which is insane, unprecedented, and really, frankly, anti-capitalist and un-American for a variety of reasons, he springs back into action with $3 billion in his pocket. Technically, he doesn't have the money for 6 months, but still, it's got to be really sweet. It's like, take that, lady. You try and get me. Tag, you're it. Anyway, he today made a lot, on paper, that is, on paper, because the SPAC deal, it's a special purpose acquisition corporation, Digital World Acquisition Group, or corporation, acquired Trump's Truth Social, the Trump Media Group. And they did so at a valuation that gives him roughly $3 billion, because he owns 60% of the company. Now, as I've told you, you know what, you can't just cash out immediately. You got to wait 6 months. And he may decide he doesn't want to cash out in 6 months. Who knows? I mean, he might be actually on his way into the Oval Office again in 6 months' time. That would put us into, late September. But it is a big deal in terms of what's going on with Letitia James right now, because as she goes after him for $500 million, he's like, well, I got 3. So there's more where that came from, lady. Let me share with you first his comment earlier in the day as this deal was going down and was going through. He's like, look, I get the money. I mean, the whole thing kind of stinks, right? Because I've worked my whole life to have money like this. He said, through hard work, by the way, he put this out on True Social, through hard work, talent, and luck, I currently have almost $500 million in cash, a substantial amount of which I intended to use in my campaign for president. They often overturned political hack judge on the rigged and corrupt AG case, he's making his view known, where I have done nothing wrong. I'd sort of agree with him on that. Knew this, wanted to take it away from me, and that's where and why he came up with the shocking number, which coupled with this crazy interest demand is approximately $454 million. I did nothing wrong except win an election in 2016 that I wasn't expected to win, he writes, did even better in 2020, and now lead by a lot in 2024. This is communism in America! Exclamation point, the whole thing in caps. You get the picture. He's not very happy. Not very happy at all. None of us should be happy. I mean, I'm telling you, you want to talk about America taking a turn in a really bad direction. You want to talk about a group of people being in charge and trying to annihilate anyone whom they do not agree with. This is an example of that, ladies and gentlemen. Letitia James is a prime example. Let's be very clear. She's trying to get him for everything she can. We can talk some more about the deal. We can talk some more about what's expected of him. But first, I want to remind you what he is up against. Okay, you need to understand the psychology of these people. Do we have the clip of Letitia James when she was running for office? Well, first of all, she's like, it starts with her on CNN saying, I don't know why he thinks I'm going after him. And then it moves forward to exactly why he knows and we know she's going after him. And I'm telling you, if she can do it to him, she can do it to you. And that's why we all need to be concerned. Let's play this one.
President of the United States has complained that I'm engaging in some sort of political witch hunt, that I've got some personal vendetta against him, that I campaigned against him. That is not true.
This illegitimate president who sits in the White House. That president, because he's not my president, he's an illegitimate president. His days are numbered. His days are numbered.
We've got to get ready to mobilize, and we've got to get ready to agitate and irritate until victory is won, but more importantly, until Trump is defeated. We will all rise up and resist this man.
And ultimately, will bring his
It's disgusting. It really is. I mean, we should not be in a place in America where prosecutors are elected, DAs come into business and into action because they are promising to go after someone. Think about that. And then leveling fines, which are so egregious and so outrageous. I kept saying this thing cannot get to the appellate court fast enough. And that was before they had any fines. That was just when it was a case, because I'm looking at it going, this is not really a case. Like, where's your victim? Okay, where is your victim? There is none. There's absolutely no victim in this. In other words, the bank got paid back. The shareholders made money. Everybody was the richer for it. So you mean to tell me because somebody thought his real estate was worth more than Letitia James thinks it's worth? $18 million. I mean, you got to be kidding me. Even CNN, I played this clip yesterday. CNN's out there saying, yeah, well, it's probably $250 million. This is what Bloomberg is now saying, 240, 250, whatever it is. It's not 18, okay? And Letitia wants to go forward with this. Well, we think it's worth $18 million. And so somehow Letitia James gets to decide. I'm blown away. I'm disgusted. I'm outraged. You know that. I've been talking about this for weeks, but I think it's kind of like sweet justice in a way, that on the same day she's showing up with all her little paperwork to go to his golf course in Westchester County and try and take that, seize his assets, he scores $3 billion smackaroos. I mean, wow. Really, wow. Let's watch Letitia saying she wants to seize his assets. She's going to go after him for everything he's got. If he doesn't have that $500 million come Monday, she's going after everything. Watch.
4 days after a judge ordered Donald Trump to pay $355 million for a decade of fraud, New York Attorney General Letitia James says she's prepared to do everything she can to make sure the former president pays his fine, including, she told us, seizing the buildings that bear his name.
If he does not have funds to pay off the judgment, then we will seek, judgment enforcement mechanisms in court, and we will ask the judge to seize his assets.
Except, guess what, Letitia? I think he's got the money. I think he's going to be able to write you a check for what was the number? He put it up there. Drew, I think we've got the graphic again from Truth Social. $454 million. Oh, well, this is how much he just made. Thank you for putting this one up, Drew. Digital World Acquisition stock price, it soared today up to the closing level of the deal expectation, and this just made Donald Trump $3 billion. So DWAC was the old ticker. You know, a lot of people didn't want this deal to go through. That's why when you look at this, can we see it one more time? Because when you look at that early on in the stages, guess what you see? Look how it was trading around 10. It went public at $10 a share. That's how the SPACs work, right? You basically get a group of investors together, and they get their share at $10. So they're going to make money as long as it trades above 10. They're going to make money when it comes time to cash out if they want to approve the deal. So this is exactly what happened. So it was trading around a little above 10. It got up then above 20. Check out that number. Look at how it flew just way up. And you can see the day that happened, because a few Fridays ago, I want to say it was around President's Day weekend or shortly thereafter, we got news that Donald Trump got the approval from the SEC. Like, the SEC was driving him crazy. I talked to Devin Nunes about this over at True Social. Devin's probably having a party today. Again, he's got to wait 6 months. But Devin's like, why is the SEC giving us so much trouble? It's like, well, duh. You're having a hard time. None other than because of who stands to make the money. Right? You're the outcast over there at True Social. They don't want you. I mean, for goodness sake, they don't even want Twitter right now, or X, I should say, right? Because Elon bought it. So this is the redheaded stepchild, And it just flew, and the SEC finally said, okay, you can do the deal. So what had gone on behind the scenes, a little inside baseball, was the SEC was worried that somehow the group of investors came together, and they knew all along that they were going to go after Trump's social media group. And so they said, well, DWAC was being incorporated and put together with the explicit purpose of going and buying that. And the way these SPAC deals work, you got to get the capital together first, and then you go out and look for a deal. So you can't actually have the deal in the back of your head before you have all the money, and then you go out and raise, and figure out what you're going to do. And so they were trying to say, oh, you knew you were going to do this, you knew this. And then eventually it was proven that no, they didn't know they were going to do this, and they were just, I guess, trying at the SEC to give Donald Trump a hard time because they certainly didn't want him to make $3 billion, and that's what he did today. So as of next week, DWAC is no more, ladies and gentlemen. DWAC becomes DJT. Dun, dun, dun. DJT is the ticker symbol that the Donald Trump social media company, Truth Social, will trade under. Now, is it a good investment? Well, I'm all about long-term investing. It's why I started 76 Research with my friend Rob Horton. Listen, if you haven't gone there, I'm going to put this in the chat right now for you. You've got to go over there. You got to sign up, get the 76 report. This is, it's really, 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 I would not steer you wrong. I've wanted to do this for a long time. I really have. And I've talked to Rob about it for a long time because we've known each other. We've been good friends for a long time, and we see eye to eye. You see his little picture right there. I'm going to get him on the show one of these days. A little bit camera shy, but he's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And I like to think I'm pretty smart when it comes to investing too. And, I began my career in finance before going into financial news. And so I've seen how stocks get treated from the news cycle perspective. I mean, he's seen it as a fund manager. He's managed billions of dollars over the years. And we really felt like institutions are not doing their part. I mean, they're just not, right? Institutions have their biases, whether it's the media institutions, whether it's government institutions, whether it's the Wall Street institutions. They are also biased. For goodness sakes, when it comes to Truth Social, guess what? The bias of Wall Street, nobody would even bank this. No investment banker was willing to take this company public through this SPAC merger, right? It's like a hot potato. Nobody wanted anything to do with it because they were so worried because, well, it's Donald Trump. Well, think about what they're willing to do, okay? ESG City, environmental social governance on steroids. I remember talking to Rob, like this was back in 2020, maybe like April of 2020, it was right around the time that Trump was smartly filling up our SPR, our Strategic Petroleum Reserve, with oil that was much needed. And by the way, you're never supposed to use except in case of emergency. But he's like, heck, you know what? Oil's trading at $20 a barrel. I might as well fill it up. And all the Democrats went crazy and said, this is nuts. This is nuts. How dare he? He's just giving his oil friends a handout. I'm like, no. Oil's $20 a barrel. That's when you want to fill the SPR, ladies and gentlemen. And the Democrats were going crazy. Well, guess who wound up using that oil? And he shouldn't have, because it's supposed to be there for emergencies. None other than Joe Biden, when, sure enough, gas prices started going so high after he came into office. And he was freaking out because everybody was freaking out. I mean, we're all still freaking out. We're still reeling from the inflation of the Bidenomics disaster that has been the last 3 years. So sure enough, he goes and taps the SPR. It's called Strategic Petroleum Reserve for a reason. Like, you're only supposed to use it in emergencies. And I'm like, you know what, buddy? You really ought to send Donald Trump a big thank you note for that. But the reason I bring this up is because Rob at the time, who was running billions, said, you know what? I wanted to buy shares of Exxon at that time, but he couldn't because of ESG requirements. In other words, Exxon was persona non grata. Well, if you're seeing oil company trading at a valuation that you know is probably a really smart valuation, if you're going to hold that thing long term, don't you want to be able to buy it? And yet no Wall Street analyst would tell you this? Think about that. So this is why we created 76 Research, because I'm sick of it. As to whether or not you're going to buy DJT, here's what I'm going to tell you. And this is not stock advice. You know, you do your own thing. I want to at least just get this out there. What do I think is going to happen with this stock? I suspect it's going to act as a little bit of a proxy. These are going to be individual investors that buy it because, again, Wall Street's not going to go near it. They're not going to want to touch it. And they're looking at it, understandably, rightly so, as, okay, well, how much is this company earning? And it's just not earning a lot of money right now. And it's got some hurdles to get through because there's other bigger fish out there, so to speak, right? Elon Musk's Twitter, for example, is a bigger deal. And so they're going to look at it and they're going to say, well, there's a risk that Donald Trump's going to sell his shares. I think he's going to have to at least sell 500 million worth, right? Because he wants to put that money back in his bank account that Letitia is going to take on Monday. So that's going to be a little bit of a drag on the stock. But I think a lot of everyday Americans are going to come and they're going to be involved in the stock market, and they may buy a share of this, and they're going to buy a share because maybe they want to support him. And so I think that's what's going to sort of support the stock in the near term. Whether or not it continues trading at this level, it's anyone's guess. I think long term, it's pretty complicated because if he doesn't stay really, really active with that, if he goes back to the White House, there's still the reality that Twitter's the bigger game in town. We'll just have to look at the earnings, right? And you also have to think about earnings in light of this climate where these companies like Disney don't want to invest in social media platforms that they don't think fit with their woke agenda. Another example, by the way, of a company that you should have sold 3 years ago when it was trading at $200 a share, because look at where it is now. I mean, they brought Bob Iger back thinking he could save things, but he's just kind of continuing on with the mess that is. And the reason you're never going to really be able to save Disney unless you just clean house is because the employees at Disney themselves. Look, they came out in their annual report in September and they admitted, we got a problem here because you see our product is not really seen as core and in line with what our customers want or think. And that's because Disney employees and creative departments have a social agenda. When you're picking people based on whether they're gay or straight or male or female or trans or whatever, as opposed to just picking them for their talent, which is historically what we used to do, right? Because we want to be a meritocracy and you want diverse perspectives, but you're not going to go out and say, I'm just going to hire you because, you have a different color hair or you have a different preference in terms of your sexuality. I'm sorry. Can't we be beyond that? Can't we be better than that? So Disney's got a real problem because they can't get out of their own way in that sense. But guess what? Bob Iger, good luck now, because Nelson Peltz, who tends to be more on the right side of things than on the left side of things, you may know him because his daughter is married to the former Spice Girl. What's her name? She's got a fashion line now. Her husband is a soccer player. Help me out. Beckham. Victoria Beckham and David Beckham. Well, Nelson's daughter married their son, Nicola Peltz. Nelson is more conservative. And he's looking at Disney and he's like, hey, wait a second. This is a company that could be great if they would just get back to doing what they used to do, which was make good, entertaining content. But they don't know how to do that anymore, you see, because they're tripping over themselves with all their woke ESG nonsense. So that's a great example, again, of a company that is not able to get out of its own way. And this all sort of relates back to what's going on with Donald Trump and DJT, which is going to start trading on Monday. So watch share prices there, because I'll be very curious to see. Wall Street doesn't want to go near this thing. And I have reservations on the earnings front, et cetera. But I do think that there's going to be an emotional attachment to this stock that you don't typically see, right? You just don't typically see this. And there's going to be a lot of support from people that are coming out of the woodwork and they're saying to their brokers, hey, can you buy me DJT? I want to buy DJT. And so I'll be curious to see it if this is sort of like the polls. I remember watching Ivanka Trump's company, the fashion line, very carefully when her dad was first running for president, because a lot of people obviously didn't like him then and they didn't like her as a result. And thus her fashion line started getting dropped from stores like Nordstrom's and, these other places, Lord & Taylor, et cetera. And they were dropping it because she had become kind of a lightning rod. But what I found out was that a lot of women that liked her and liked her dad were secretly wearing her perfume. So her perfume sales were up, right? Because you can wear a little Ivanka Trump perfume, but, maybe not have her brand all over you. So that was an interesting play. And you wonder to a certain extent if DJT, the stock, becomes that. Again, I'm not saying you should buy it, but I'm saying I'm going to watch this one very carefully. And I'm going to continue to report on it for you. I think that the company does have its challenges for sure, but I think that there's going to be just a buoyancy from the public that you continue to see surrounding Donald Trump all the time. And if nothing else, you know what, ladies and gentlemen, it's really terrific to say, Letitia, take that. It's like a giant F you. To New York City and to the judge and to Letitia and to the rest of them. And I would say that he's got someone upstairs looking out for him because the timing is fantastic. Fabulous. Doesn't get any better than this, really and truly.